This is Leo Carlsson, one of the best young talents in the NHL. At 21 years old, he's already proven that he can be a number one center who has shown flashes of dominance in this league. Without a doubt, Carlsson has the potential to be a franchise player if he's not already. In fact, the Ducks were counting on that being the case for many years to come. But the Philadelphia Flyers have purposely sabotaged the Ducks' plan by offer-sheeting Leo Carlsson to a 5-year, $90 million contract. That would carry an $18 million AAV, which would make Leo Carlsson the highest-paid player in the NHL on an annual basis if it goes into effect. This contract changes everything for the future direction of superstars and teams in this league, especially for these two franchises. Leo Carlsson is a special young talent, but is his skill set, impact, and overall fit on either of these teams worth this level of money? Let's take a deeper dive. Now, before we continue, today's video is sponsored by our good friends over at SeatGeek. It is the off season, but the great thing about SeatGeek is that they have tickets for every live event, from sports to concerts to live shows and more. You can get World Cup tickets on there right now, which is fantastic. The MLB season is in full swing as well, and you can get some unbelievable deals using the app just before the game, and it's really, really simple to use also. When you check for tickets, you browse seating on a scale of 1 to 10, look for the green, that's a great deal. You snatch those up and voila, you have tickets for an unreal price. I've been using them for years. It's why they're a lock on the channel. And after everyone's done in Cancun, I'll be using them frequently to get into games and get content for you guys. They hooked us up too. Right now, you can get 10% off any tickets by downloading the SeatGeek app and using promo code Hockey2026. All you gotta do is click the link in the description, download the app, and have the code automatically added to your account to use at any time. So get started, use the code, and enjoy your next game on a great deal using SeatGeek. First, let's start with the player and what he does incredibly well. The stats of Leo Carlsson's first 3 years in the NHL have progressively gotten better and better, with him putting up 67 points in 70 games last season. Now, you probably take one peek at the numbers and think, he's not even a point-per-game player. They're giving a 21-year-old $18 million a year without him even being a point-per-game once in 3 seasons. But it is abundantly clear that they're paying for the potential of what Leo Carlsson can be. Because when you look at his game, the tool set, and the cognitive intelligence of his play, he's got all the makings to be one of the best centers in the NHL for a very long time. Carlsson at his core is a playmaker in every sense of the word. All of his playmaking metrics, like primary shot assists and in-zone shot assists, are in the 92nd percentile or higher in the league. But the area that very few in the game can match him is his rush shot assists and how he's able to create off the rush in general. The best rush players in the world attack the dot lanes, which is basically the middle of the ice upon zone entry. One of, if not the best, is actually a teenager in Macklin Celebrini. And aside from McDavid or McKinnon, he attacks the dot lanes so effectively. And what this does is it forces defensive structures to converge onto the puck carrier quickly. Now, Leo Carlsson is just as good at this skill, and this is a prime example. Vegas is fully in their 1-2-2 structure here, and Carlsson is going to attack right into the traffic and in between the dot lanes. Now, because he attacks with that mentality and in the middle of the ice, he's got 5 Vegas defenders all converging around him because of that entry point. And this is where a slight change of speed and delay allows him to weave out of traffic. That possession entry eventually leads to a goal. This formula is at work here too. When Carlsson gets this puck, he attacks into the dot lane, and there's that blend of size and skill. A 6'3" frame to protect the puck, get the inside angle, and when you're a threat to the middle, coverages pull towards you, he slips this over like butter, and it's another cookie for Leo Carlsson. Even in one-on-one situations too, he will dance you like a puppet. This play again starts outside the dot lanes, and the very best players like Carlsson find a way to use their deception to get into the middle of the ice, and he buries to go on the highlight reel. His off-puck awareness is off the charts too. His size does make him very difficult to box out in front of the net, but most of his goals and offensive touches come because of the timing and decision in his routes. He's often arriving right where he needs to be when he needs to be there. He also has such great awareness of understanding when to pick up or slow down his pace to arrive into that destination at the right moment. That ability alone has him often getting lost within enemy lines and banging home greasy ones, or having uncontested grade A looks with tons of space. On the defensive side, though, there are shades of Alexander Barkov, and that is not a comparison that I take lightly. There is still some big growth in this area of his game for him, and probably where the most upside lies, but it isn't necessarily his physicality that stands out. It's how well he reads the game as a whole. He's frequently one step ahead, anticipating where plays are developing and using his size, reach, and positioning to close off passing lanes. Even here, watch how he stays patient with his stick check on the puck carrier, seeing the drop pass play develop. This keeps the puck carrier hesitant from attacking the middle and holding on to that puck, and also further encourages him to make this drop pass, and that is exactly what Carlsson wants. He creates these conditions, and then once it happens, he jumps all over it, and sure enough, he turns it into a goal down the ice. He is very good at baiting puck carriers into vulnerable positions with the puck and then jumping all over it once the trap is in place. Down low too in his own zone, it's more cerebral than physical as well. He certainly has the tools to leverage his size on his opponents to create a takeaway, but he tilts the scales even more in his favor by jumping in at the right time when the puck carrier is most vulnerable. And that's often right out of a 1v1 board battle between his teammates and the opponent. Carlsson is really strong at picking up that cue as to when to get aggressive and swoop in to retain possession. This element of his game really went to another level, especially in the playoffs this past year, which is why he had 11 points in 12 games. At just 21, he's showing all the signs to develop into one of the game's best two-way forwards. So he's certainly going to be a game changer, and you can argue that he already is, but is all this upside, even at his age, worth $18 million a season? Yes, the cap is going up, and more players are going to start to get really big contracts just like this one. And so that brings us to the off-ice element of this whole thing, and that's how you can sabotage another franchise in the modern NHL. So for years, NHL offer sheets have been viewed as more of a theoretical weapon than a practical one. Since the salary cap was introduced in 2005, they've only been used a handful of times because GMs didn't want to piss anyone off or step on anyone's toes. They didn't want any retaliation, losing draft picks, or anything like that. So offer sheets became extremely rare. But this is happening more and more in Philadelphia. Signing Leo Carlsson to a 5-year, $90 million offer sheet changes that entire conversation. The contract itself is also constructed to be as predatory as possible against the Ducks. 85 of the $90 million will be paid out in signing bonuses. They're going to be paying this kid almost $20 million in year one with signing bonuses. And so if Anaheim chooses to match it, they got to be prepared to front that money every single year, which is harder for a franchise like Anaheim than it is Philly. So absolute baller move there from the Flyers with that heads-up play. Now, obviously, this can go one of two ways, and by the time you see this video, you'll likely know the direction that it was taken. But let's go with scenario one, which is where the Ducks give the middle finger back and say, we're matching this offer because it's our franchise guy. Now, the biggest positive is obvious. They retain their franchise center and avoid losing one of the NHL's best young players. But they also inherit one of the richest contracts in NHL history. 18 schmil a year for the next 5 years is a lot of money. The Ducks also have to pay upwards of $20 million in year one, with the vast majority of the deal structured as signing bonuses. So that certainly reshapes their salary cap, as that $18 million cap hit becomes the benchmark for every future negotiation. So young stars like Cutter Gauthier, the kid who led the Ducks in regular season scoring and playoff scoring, may say, yeah, I want my money too. You got to pay up. Of course, that means overall roster flexibility takes a hit as well. Philly in this scenario doesn't get Carlsson, but they don't lose anything, and they potentially get crowned as the organization with the biggest cojones for sabotaging another franchise without giving up a single asset. I saw some people mention that this is a gigantic middle finger and payback for the whole Cutter Gauthier debacle a few years back when he requested a trade out of Philly. Now the Flyers are simply returning the favor, saying have fun trying to get your payday, pal. You're going to be playing with future picks for the next 4 years. And if that's the case, GM Danny Briere is the savage of the year. Now the Ducks have purposely been keeping all this cap space available to prepare for this, and even the Ducks GM Pat Verbeek said that they would be willing to match any offer sheet thrown at them. But this is seismic. And so that leads us to scenario number 2. And that's if Anaheim decides not to match the offer.
For the Ducks, they lose the centerpiece of their rebuild in exchange for 4 first-round draft picks. Now, that does sound like a lot, and it is, but considering that these picks will likely be later first-rounders if Philly is competitive, the chances of you landing a player with as much promise or talent of Carlsson is still not great. There's a tool on hockeystats.com that actually allows you to run through the different scenarios of potential first-round picks to see the quality of player you would get, and it's usually not worth it. As for Philly, you land a 21-year-old potential franchise corner piece and instantly add the high-end talent that the Flyers have desperately needed for the past few years. The only downside is the compensation itself. 4 first-round picks can be steep, but $18 million a year is also steep, and he instantly becomes the most expensive player in the NHL. The contract will age better as the years go on, but it's still one of, if not the largest contracts in the sport. Players who are far more productive are earning less right now, and that'll change, and it's why this contract will also dictate everything for all 32 teams moving forward. This offer sheet forces teams to rethink everything from long-term cap planning and internal salary structures to the value of the draft picks themselves. It also gives elite restricted free agents significantly more leverage in negotiations, proving that any other team may be willing to pay far more than what is expected. And so with multiple elite RFAs like Jason Robertson and Connor Bedard out there right now, more and more teams may be willing to throw in an offer sheet to force teams like Chicago and Dallas into very uncomfortable positions. And if executed properly, it could totally sabotage another franchise. Regardless, Anaheim is not in a great spot. They had one of the league's best young cores. They took a gigantic step this past season, but now a good chunk of that core is either gone or in danger of being dismantled further based on the outcome of this situation. So what do you think the Ducks should do? Is Leo Carlsson worth it? Or do you take the 4 first-round picks? Also, who do you think is going to get offer sheeted next? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm Anthony. I do all the breakdowns for the channel. We got a ton of content coming up with the NHL offseason. If you want to stay up to date on all things NHL and dive deeper into the biggest moves, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss a single thing.